Hey YouTube! I am deeply in my research about blood types and origins, which I'm realizing is what blood types are as I get into this, and wanted to make another video to just kind of bring you with me on some of this. As I get into this research, I'm realizing that it is in-depth and intensive stuff. The person I'm studying a lot of it with has been studying this stuff for 30 years. Which makes him an incredible source, but it is in layers. This blood type information. So we're just gonna peel back another little layer today. Last video we talked about the different blood types, the alpha, the beta, the omega. We talked about the RH factor being the Rhea Zeus factor within the blood, having nothing to do with a monkey or rhesus monkey or anything like that. It is Rhea Zeus positive. It is the reptilian positive factor within the blood. And what I'm uncovering is the depths to what that actually means. And I want to tell you before I even get into some of it here, how difficult this is for me. The journey that I'm taking right now is it's hard for me to express because, as I said in the previous video, I was abused as a child by the church. So, when you're beaten by a Bible and then you go back to try to find information there's this painful process. But, I wasn't beaten with a Bible for no reason. I do believe a lot of the truths are hidden within these documents, and not the regular documents, not the Bible that's in everybody's home that they're reading. Those King James versions are Masonic versions of this information. They are completely altered. So one thing I'll say about your quest for truth requires you to dig deeper and to keep digging and to keep going. You don't find a part of it here or there and stop. So that's what I'm getting into with this, and you have to listen to a lot of the speech, and the speech patterns of those books are all kind of similar, whether you're reading the Gospel of the Holy 12 or you're reading books that have been written about it. The depth of information that's out there that's available actually is pretty extensive, but not mainstream. But there's a language and a cadence to it and stuff that sometimes I'm like, ugh, I don't want to get caught up in the way that this is viewed. So it's very challenging. But at the same time, I can't stop. I can't stop taking this in. I can't stop taking this information. There is so many layers of truth here that I am overcome. I am staying up nights. I've got a research thing set up here now. I've got headphones in case someone else is around. I can listen privately. I can't turn this off. So I'm digging, and I'm going to share it all with you, but I am not done digging. I'm just, scratching away these surfaces and going, oh, okay. So let's catch you up to where I'm at. One of the things that I want to go to first, last time we talked about the flesh and the blood. We talked about how we are the blood. The blood is our identity. So this goes all the way back to those stories about our first interference genetically. And there are lists of names that go along with this stuff. And I'm going to show you this drawing that I made. And this is an example of how within spiritual context there is all this truth buried under Zeus, Jesus, buried underneath the deception. So this is the Jewish Menorah. And I drew this, so, okay, it's one of my drawings. This is a Jewish menorah, and it symbolizes. See, they know this shit. They have some level of knowing about this that has gotten lost in these bastardized versions. And I don't use that word bastardized for no reason either, which we'll see as we get into this stuff. And you know what? Some people who hear this shit, they're not gonna like it. And you know what? Some of it I don't like either. But that kind of lets you know that maybe you're onto something too. You don't just reject things that you don't like or that don't follow your belief system. I'm going to say this really quick. Belief must be suspended for intellect to come in and to decipher. So if you're sitting within belief systems, you're not allowing your intellect to come in and participate. And we know this is very readable through like science. You know, we decided this factor was the way that it is, and it wasn't until someone came along and was like, well, I'm going to try this anyway, and proved that there was something else to that. So belief must be suspended. So if you're sitting in a tense belief, it's not going to help you on your process of unveiling. And I just have to say that. So back to this. So we have this menorah, which symbolizes all the blood types. So you've got the A negative yoked with the A positive. See that? You've got the B negative yoked with the B positive. You've got the O negative yoked with the O positive. And you've got your AB negative and positive there on the center column. And what this is showing is how the different origin blood types relate to the different levels of heaven, the 7 heavens, okay? And so, and this is all just unveiling something. So, you know, it's not like I'm sharing this as like, here, this is how it is. This is showing something. And this is a slow unveiling. So the A negative, I'll say A positive, you have Chronos and you have Earth. And the A's are locked to the Earth. They were the blood type that was supposed to rule here. Adam, the alpha, who was supposed to be the guardian of this place. And I've even taken that A to the word Atlantis. You know, these were the people who were supposed to be in charge who did the wrong thing. They were supposed to make laws and supposed to create a society that operated under the law of the blood, which some people are going to call God's law. I'm going to call it the law of the blood. But they didn't do that. They were corrupted. And, you know, the Atlantean legends have a lot of stuff about that. And that's why I will relate that A to the Atlanteans, you know, where they got involved in the GMO process, which is what these different blood types and RH factors are really about, is about your genetic modification that happened here. So there's the A's, Chronos, Earth, locked to that first heaven and 7th heaven. And, you know, maybe it might be hard to read this because obviously you're looking at it backwards. Oh, yeah. So then you have your B's. You've got your B negative, your B positive. Your B negative is Mercury, Hermes, yoked with Venus. You've got the 2nd heaven and the 6th heaven. And so when they have the RH negative factor, there you have 1 foot in this heaven and 1 foot in this heaven, or maybe lack of heaven here. And so there's the B's, and then you've got the O negative yoked to the O positive, where we have Zeus and Mars. And that is the 3rd heaven and the 5th heaven. And here you have the ABs, which is the 4th heaven, the sun and the moon. And those are your ABs. Those are your combination. And probably initially meant to be the combination, the A and the B, which would be, and meant to be the combination by whom is one of the things like I don't find in this research that I'm starting to think myself. You know, if the B negative female, being the original human here, mated with Adam, to create this mankind. Well, who was her original partner? That's the part that I have a lot of thought about that, but I'm going to make a separate video about the concepts I have about the original woman and the bastardization of the story there. But the story here with most of this origin stuff is going to start with Adam and Eve, which is actually more like you because the Germans turned all the W's to V's. Anyway, it's so in depth, you guys. Okay, so then, so that shows the blood types in origin to the different levels of heaven and the different places within the system that can be attained. Hopefully that registers. So, and it's, you know, to me, this is evidence too of how these spiritual texts do contain truths about origins. So there you go. You got the seven heavens, and what else we can say more about this. So you got the Adam and his original wife, and then you have something else that comes in. Mars, Zeus. This is the Satan factor. This is the genetic modification that came in, and they're called, okay, so the Omega, to rule. So they're also called the Watchers, the observers. They were supposed to be observers here, and instead they came in and got involved. And, you know, the origins are going to go back to someone named Cain. So, or Eve, and I actually think it's translated into another word I can't think of off the top of my head, was raped by the O positive, bringing about the children of the O positives. So she ended up with two lines. You know, you wonder, like, how did this get in here if this is the original earthling? So then you've got, you know, that's the Cain and Abel story. You've got Abel, their child, AB, and then Cain coming in with the O's. And this is what, let me look at my notes here. This is what the, this is the GMO. This is where they genetically modified us through these blood types. And so the A and the O, who are really in opposition to each other, those are the warring factors here on Earth. Those are the people who go to war. These are the mothers who will send their sons to war to die. You know, these are the tribes that they are warring tribes. Okay, they are infiltrators in a way. And what I'm discovering is that there's the worst of them and there is the best of them. Okay, so there are factions of O positive people in this world who know who they are. They know that they're sons and daughters of Cain, and they know what the pact that they made with Zeus was. And I'm going to tell you what it was. It was murder for gain. Now you think about the world you live in and tell me if there is not murder for gain as a pact here going on every day. You know, these are ugly things that nobody really wants to know about the origins of humanity and what's going on here. But this is the hard shit that we have to hear and look at to understand who we are and to understand what we can do to rectify this situation. And just to reiterate, I am not religious. I am not looking at this from a spiritual component. I believe the spirit world to be the second heaven and to be non-physical and to be filled with demons. Okay? So I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm just looking at the information as a truth seeker investigator of our true origins and who we are. You know, we say this world is full of demons and full of bad people. Well, it is. It is. And some of us have that blood within us. So we'll get more into that. So where were we? The O's, Cain, right? Murder for profit. So, okay, so the best of them and the worst of them. So there's O positives out there who know about this stuff, who know the origins, who know the pact, who are actively seeking their inheritance here. They're actively seeking their riches here in this world, and they get them. You know, these are the people who hold all the money and all the wealth, and who receive their benefits here and now. And that was the pact for them. And then there's those of you who are O positive, who are related to these people, but you are the best of them. Okay, you are the part of that blood group that is not keeping that pact. So if I say this about O positives and their origins, and it's true, that doesn't mean that I'm saying to you as an O positive person that that is your identity. You may be the best of them. You may be the O positive that is drawing away from these pacts, away from this interference in genetic modification, and back toward, you know, home tree. And we will all meet at the tree one day, regardless of the shit that they did. But to know ourselves, to know who we are and what we come from, we must look at this, and we must be honest about the decisions and the choices that we make along the way. So you can see how in-depth this is. It's challenging to put it out there, and when it's all in your head and you want to share it, you know, it's a challenge. So then you've got so let's talk about so there's all these different identities for these blood types, which I thought was super interesting. The A's, and they all have the separate identities because they either have that rhesus Zeus positive factor or they don't. So the A, who are yoked to the earth, who are supposed to be here caretaking the earth, the A negative is going to be the oxen, the cow, the cattle, which was initially the best friend of the B. You know, this is the clean animal that was your companion. And I say clean, well, we'll get to that. And then on the other side of the A positive, I believe, is like a lion. It's ferocious predator, okay? And then you have your B negatives. Your B negatives are the lost sheep. They're the lost sheep. They are the originals. And what was crazy that I discovered within these identities, it kind of took me aback, because my daughter is a B positive, is the B positive is actually the snake, is the serpent, because it is the original person who got infected. And so in a way, they have more judgment on them. It's hard. These words are hard because they'll sound like religion, and I'm trying to steer away from them and find new words. It's challenging. But the B positive is the serpent. And what I read about that is that it is the serpent only if it claims to be the serpent. Okay? It has to claim it. It has to declare itself as such. But a B positive person can sit in more righteousness. Wow, those words are fucked up. By fasting. So they have an easier road than maybe an A or an O, but they still are rhesus Zeus positive. So in a way, they have some work to do in that regard. And we all have work to do. You know, we all have been mixed and blended together, and they did that on purpose, okay? So let's talk about that a little bit. So you are in a family and your family doesn't like love or accept you. You're treated super differently in your family. Or say there's a family member in your family who is treated super differently and you're not. But you know what I'm talking about, how the family structure is, there's often a child who is rejected. Well, it's because it's not of their origin. It's not actually a family member. And that's what they've done to us. That's lies so much of our confusion with each other and why there's so much enmity between human beings, is we do not understand our origins. They have us separated out as according to race. Well, race is good. Race is fine. Different races, that's not our identity. In fact, I found this incredible article last night and I want to pull it up. And this was very cool. And I was looking this up for blood maps, like, where in the world there's more of the, sorry, I'm always doing that with this, where in the world there's more B's or O's or A's, trying to find their origins of where they started out, probably post-flood, where they started out. And this goes into some really interesting stuff because I've been looking up, where did I write that down? I've been looking up there that not only are there the A, the AB, the B, and the O, and the RH factors, but there's a lot of stuff they're leaving out they don't even tell us. And probably a lot of medical professionals don't know the depth of it. But there are other factors. There's an antigens within the blood. So, like the Jews have and a lot of them, I think they're actually B pluses. I think last time I said O plus, but that may not be right. Where did I write that? Well, anyway, you probably have heard of it. They have a chromosome within the blood that they look for their priests. So these people know about the blood. They know how to identify you through your blood. And there's other antigens. There's the Sarah antigen. There's the Lutheran antigen, which they say the name is just like, oh, it's just because of this guy and that was his name. Names are never a mistake. They're quite purposeful. And then there's they call it RH null, or the golden blood. And it says no RH factor. Well, I was looking at that, and that's RH negative. What they're saying there really is there's like the letter negative. Like they're not an A or an AB or a B or an O. So there are blood types that... what else? These other ones, MNS, Kell, Kid, Duffy. There's all these different variations of antigens within the blood that we're not that aware of. And so then I found this article that I was talking about that had the maps. And within this article, she calls blood, let me find it quickly. Talks all about interbreeding and the blood types and how, you inherit these, like this last sentence that she puts here is very, in a very real sense, race is a distinction that is created by culture and not biology. The true biology and origin of you will only be found in the blood. It's not going to be in your skin color. And it used to not be like that. The blood types used to be more defined by race. They did. Like A's used to be tall, white, like redheaded, blonde-haired people. So, and your B's would be darker and so on. So, but we've all mixed and blended so much that it's not even relevant anymore. You cannot distinguish people by race. You have to know their blood type. And I highly recommend that you can get a blood type test on Amazon and check your blood type and find out who you are. Because, you may end up understanding a lot more about yourself. Frequencies. So she says there's 29 different frequencies within the blood. And I was very struck by that word because I do believe that as we proceed towards the deluge that is coming, that the frequency within our blood will be activated, and we will gather into our blood groups because we have different inheritances. We have different inheritances in different places that we come from and will go to. And Earth is like a place where we sort that out. So I think that part about the frequency really grabbed me. And this was a person who really seemed to understand that origins were within blood and not within race. And, you know, it's going to be rejected by a lot of people, but there really is a lot to it. Oh, I have so many notes here. And, you know, you think about, I want to mention inheritance a little bit since we just spoke to that, you know, I mentioned in the earlier ones that, you know, the meek shall inherit the earth. That is the bees. The meek shall inherit the earth. And, you know, an O or an A or whatever, but, you know, not just the bees, but the RH negatives have a pretty good shot at that as well, depending on how they've lived their lives. I'm sorry, but how you live your life is becoming extremely relevant within this information. And, you know, we live in a culture where it's supposed to be no judgment, anything goes, you do or eat anything you want. There's actually television shows about cannibalism and, you know, like that show True Blood is just all about like drinking blood and just like, you know, you can be any gender you want and all of this stuff. And that is Zeus's interference. That really is not moral. And what is morality? To me, morality is courage. It isn't having so much to do with religion as it is just about your compass of right and wrong. And that's gotten very thrown off in this society. And the purpose and the reason for why courage is relevant, because we don't know who we are as blood. You know, we think that we're actually very misled from our true selves. So inheritances. So if you are going to inherit something, that means that you have lost something. I know of this because I just lost my best friend of 17 years, who was a big companion of mine, and I inherited everything that he owned. An inheritance isn't really something that you want. Okay, it's a loss. Yes, it's also a gain. And every day that I receive something from him, you know, I am in gratitude for it. But it does not rectify the loss. You know, and if you think about this world and think about all of those that you love and think about the loss that is to come and the separation, you know, you're not going to be mad at somebody about them receiving an inheritance and you receiving a different inheritance. This is grief. Imagine being here without your best friends. And that's who they are. You know, one of my dearest friends right now is an O negative. So lovable. What lovable, wonderful people. But the path is different. So, you know, when I say someone's going to inherit something, that is not me saying something awesome about them. Just remember that inheritance is a lot of grief. And a lot of people confuse peace with quiet. And what this really is a quieting of the infection to piece all of this out and rectify what is happening is to cast some silence over the noise. This is very humbling. And it's called mercy. I hope you're following me with that. So, one of the things that is happening with the O positives and the A positives, and you know that, and these, there, a lot of them are Freemasons. I'm not talking about the best of them. If you're listening to this, you're probably one of the best of them. So don't take that in. But you know there's factions here on earth that are not the best of them, okay? So, and these are the people, these are the people in your courtrooms. They have the cops. These are the people running banks. These, you know where they are. These are the people who have the pact of murder for gain. And where do they want you to go? The third heaven. Mars. So this is where they are asking humanity to come and spend time. So it's good to come up with other verbiage for it. And I'm going to work on that so that I can convey this without sounding religious or spiritual. It's hard. It's the pitfall, which I'll get to that in a minute too. So they're trying, so Mars is the third heaven. And you look at like NASA and look at mainstream like space science and stuff like that. And where are they obsessed about going to? Mars. They are trying to pull humanity into that realm. That's where they'd like you. There's the feeding and the feast will continue there. It will not stop. So that's going to bring me back around to the flesh and the blood, which is what we talked about in the last video, and how that is the forbidden fruit that was offered back when they first started doing these genetic modifications with our origins. The flesh and the blood. And so the third heaven is going to be much the same as what you're getting here, but without your friends, without your betas, and if you're a beta, if you're a B, I want to speak something to that too. You cannot win here. Okay, if your life feels futile in a way where you try to obtain this or that, or you try to make certain things happen and you get knocked down and you get knocked down and you get knocked down, that's because this is not the place where you will receive your inheritance. It's not here. Your rewards don't come in this world, in this life. You are here to clean the blood. That's what you're doing here. And your rewards, say you're a B, are going to come in the sixth heaven. That's where your other foot is. It's in the sixth heaven. Mercury, Hermes. That is where your other foot is. And the A's, the A minuses, is in the seventh heaven. Kronos. Well, there's something interesting about that. That's Saturn, right? Saturn has the ring around it. One of the things that was implied is that the ring around the seventh heaven is a confinement ring. And it is being confined and controlled because it's a very powerful place. It's huge, right? It's very big because they didn't do the right thing in their caretaking here. That's why they've got the ring around them. So there's a whole karmic thing that is happening there with the A's, but that's where their other foot is in the seventh heaven. So this is all hierarchical. I get that. And I've been thinking about that a lot as I get into this information. And I think that that's a way that we can understand things here on this plane. And maybe as we dig further into it, we can flatten it out and take a different perspective. And I look for that because I don't appreciate hierarchies. I don't think, like, a lot of the stuff I listen to about this stuff, oh man, you wouldn't believe what I have to sift through, has a lot of inequality in it, especially with gender. And it's painful. So, but there's something to this. There's something about the different places and different origins. And, we use numbers here and pyramids, and that's how we understand things. So for now, we're going to go with that because it makes sense. Um, where were we? I don't, this video could get extremely long if I actually talk about all of this. Oh, so why families aren't working, right? We sort of started to get into that. So if you are, like, I'll use myself as an example. If you are an Rh negative person who grew up in a family of Rh positives, you're different. You're treated different than the other sibling. Maybe you're going to call yourself the black sheep, right? This is why families aren't working. That's why there's enmity between you and other family members, and there's a non-acceptance, there's even abuse in some situations, and a lack of protection. Okay, a lack of protection and a lack of inheritance. If you're an Rh negative factor in a family, you are not going to inherit it. They're going to kick you out. They are going to reject you, and they won't even know why. We don't even know why. This is so automatic and within the blood that there isn't even an understanding. But this is why families aren't working, is because they have mixed all these different origins together in a genetically modified way that was not supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. So, if you're meek and you're a bee, you're going to get beat up here. And you might get in a backlash here and there, but be careful, because they are stronger than you, these A's and these O's, and maybe they'll enjoy hearing that. They're powerful, and they are vicious. They have an ability to be extremely vicious and murderers. So don't think you can ever gain anything here. Don't think that you will ever get a one-up on them. This is their territory, way more than it is yours, the way that this is functioning now. So as a bee, as a meek bee bunny, you have to walk through this world and tread lightly and be humble, and do not be provoked by them. Do not allow yourself to become a murderer for gain. And do not accept the flesh and the blood as food. Don't do it. There will be bees who don't make it, who end up in the third heaven of Mars to continue with this because they were unable to seek the truth enough to understand, to know. And no one wants to take responsibility. Everybody's going to be like, well, I shouldn't have to sift and sort through all this information to figure out my origins and what I'm supposed to be doing. Yes, you are supposed to fucking do that. Sorry to use the F word. The truth has to be available to you. It's one of the laws. The truth has to be put out there. But it doesn't have to be organized, and it doesn't have to be easily accessible. So Zeus or Satan or whatever you want to call it is obligated not to leave the truth out. So guess what? Your origin, your story, the truth is available to you. But you have to be a seeker of it. And I'm going to mention that recently, not that long ago, I met with a dear friend, and we stayed up all night talking, and I was so desirous of the true story. Like, we sat and talked about plans of taking action to go get it, to go knock on these people's doors and demand it. Get on a plane and go where we thought maybe it was and demand it. Well, that is a process, right? That is me coming to the conclusion that this is that I have a right to know. And my decision to actually take a physical action to do something about it, I believe, brought me in the vibrational countenance of finding it without doing that. Does that make sense? It's like the choice you make to actually throw caution to the wind, make it a priority, actually do something about it, brought the information in. So sitting back on your heels in enjoyment and eating another steak and dining out and whatever and watching another Freemason television program isn't going to achieve you anything. It's not, You can't just sit around and enjoy all the pleasures of this world and end up in a good place. Maybe some people will argue with that, but that is my understanding. So in the last video, I posted the 12 laws that were from the Holy Gospel of 12, the Gospel of the Holy 12. And within those rules, and they're great, they're awesome. I don't find them to be biblical in a sense of like, this is horseshit or anything like that. They make total sense for cleaning the blood. And one of them is, do not make marriages that are, actually maybe I should pull it up and read it. Well, I don't think I can do that while I'm doing this. So don't make marriages where love does not reside. Don't get involved in relationships where respect and love is not present. This disobeys the law of you achieving what you need to achieve here by you spending time in anxiety and in stress. That is a marriage that should not be made. So what does that mean? You need to mate and be married with your origin. You know, when a O positive marries a negative person, there's very likely going to be issues within that relationship. And it's not because either person is bad or wrong. It's because there is a mismatch of origin. And we don't know that. We don't understand. I can't get along with this person. Why do these people treat me like this? This is why. This is why we don't all get along. So it is vital for you to eat fruits and grains and herbs, to pursue relationships where love and kindness and respect are present. And it says within that law, if those things are not present, you are to leave. You do not linger there. A lot of people linger. A lot of marriages are not built on love. They're built on money and circumstance. You know, and these bloodline families, they're probably basing their relationships on blood, but they're vicious. They're murder for gain. So they know, but they perpetuate. And, you know, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you, and don't do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. That is stated twice within those laws. Why? Because it's the most important one. You can't go around treating people like shit, and you don't treat people in a way that you don't want to be treated. Why? It fucks up the blood. It makes it dirty. You know, you're being anxious and stressed. It messes with the frequency of your blood. So, and one of the other ones that struck me was the Sabbath, you know, keep the seventh day. Well, further research into that is about you need a day of stasis. You need a day of sleep and rest where you're not anxious at all, where you're not focused on food. You're probably going to fast on this day, where you are putting yourself in a state of rest. And you put yourself in a state of calm and rest every 7 days. Watch your aches and pains disappear. You know, and this takes vigilance to keep these rules in a world of mayhem. In a world where people just do whatever they want. And we're slaves, and we have to work all the time and work and work and work. What are we going to get done at our home? We're going to get done at work. And so this is challenging. And I would say the road to health, blood health, is not an easy road. Someone left a comment on my last video about how eating meat is so important, and they really believe that you're going to have really shitty health if you don't eat meat. And they believe this. And they said that, you know, they tried some other diet and that they didn't feel good, that they didn't have good health. Well, I maintain that there is a lot of shite within our bodies that takes quite a while to process out. And I would imagine somebody midlife or wherever they're at turning towards a diet of grains and fruit to experience quite a bit of bad health before they would find stasis. So no one said the road is easy. You want an easy road? Yeah, I'm sure that if you're an O or an A, or even a B positive or AB positive, eating meat is going to feel better. It is going to feel easier, quicker, like energy and health and stuff like that. That is the easy way. So, you know, I think viewpoint is really relevant. And there's always going to be people who are going to say that murdering animals is fine. But one of the other main rules, and you can go back and look at them on the last video, is kindness and love of animals, to caretake the animals, that they are your friends, and to kill them is murder. You can paint it any way you want to, but you cannot eliminate that fact. You can say, oh, we do it humanely, oh, we do it like this, blah, 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 oh, I only eat this cow that was treated like whatever, still was murdered. You still spilt the blood and feasted on the blood and the flesh. And if you can get deep enough into this information, you will look around at your world and you will find something that has been in plain sight the entire time, and that this is all about blood. Look at the television shows, look at the movies, count how many times they mention blood within these shows and movies. You might be astounded that you were not noticing that before. They are obsessed with spilling the blood. And all kinds of truths can come into, like my dear friend sent me something last night about starfire and blood groups pulling out and all this whole thing, the Metatron's cube and stuff. And there was so much truth in it. It was beautiful. But as I read through it, I saw it said to drink the blood. It said to drink the starfire, which is the menstrual blood. I'm immediately going to say no to that, you know, and I think my friends are not in agreement with me about that, which is fine, because I don't necessarily have, this is my research, this is my journey that I'm going through, and we're all going to get to the same place via different paths, and it's fine. If they think drinking menstrual blood is okay, then that's what they feel like. I don't think it is. I think within that story was the serpent and the eating of the flesh and the blood mingled in with the truth. And you'll see it all over the place. And this is one of the things I'm discovering. Like, there's a passage that says, the path is long and the gate is narrow. This is how careful we must be in finding our truths. This is why I say to continue to always suspend belief. Because it's literally like this. It's like looking in here, a little bit of truth. Okay, I'm going to go over here, look in here, and find a little bit of truth. Okay, I'm going to get out of there. And you have to maneuver your way through, because all of it will contain the genetic modification. All of it will contain both truth and lies. You live in the garden of truth and lies. Good and evil. They are all here. So you can't just find a truth. That's not how it's going to be. You're going to find bits and pieces and bits and pieces. And then you have to keep going, because you might find a deeper truth than the bit and piece you found back there. And we will keep going. We will keep going until we uncover all of this. I have so much more to say. There's so many notes here. I have so much more to say about this and to intertwine this information. But I am going to save some of it for another video. Because I could probably talk for another 20 minutes on this if I keep going. So I just wanted to get deeper into the identifications of who people were. Oh, I think I started that and didn't stop, right? Sheet. The oxen, the sheep. I got to the snake. Maybe I will save that for next time and we can go deeper into that. Let's see, there's levels of identification. Satan has so many names. So many names, and it's really the understanding of these names and understanding what things are called that will unlock the gates of understanding. That is one thing I've gotten through this one person's work, that as they go through the origins of the blood types, they can't help but get into the etymology. It's there, the true words, the Allah, she, ha, ma. These syllables are part of this story, and the resonance. Like, okay, in the cosmology videos, we talked about the electromagnetic fields. Well, I'll just say that. That is the L. You wonder where the L, the God's the L, that is the electricity. Okay, those are the electromagnetic fields. The the sound and resonance that brought things into existence. So learning the names, learning the true origins, that is why it is relevant. It is a huge gate unlocker. So let's end with that. And feel free to give me any feedback you have about this video. And don't be offended by any of the separating things out. You know, sometimes we have to sort and separate things out in order to understand the path that we have walked, which has been hidden from us and lied to, garden of truth and lies. So that is why we're going to unveil it, so that we can all come together and meet at Home Tree someday. We will all come back together, all our friends, and meet there. Is it going to be through this deluge? I don't know. Is it going to be through another? I don't know. But we need to rediscover our families and our true origins first. So that is my quest. That is why I'm doing this research, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. And love. Always love from me.